As of last Friday, the update from Kate was the engineering will be completed in October. That's right around the corner. What we already know from the meetings with Tate is that we are able to accomplish excellent radio system coverage countywide and for a fraction of the cost that the 911 district's consultant presented to this board. Literally what I've seen firsthand is excellent coverage in every city, every school building, every store, every government building, and the vast majority of every road throughout this 911 district service area. All of that for nearly half the cost of what the district's consultant presented to all of you. Millions of dollars less for more reliable radio coverage, much safer for our first responders, and much safer for the children and teachers in every single school. For these reasons, it is prudent this board allow that engineering to be completed and presented. Please do not avoid additional information that would make our community safer, our first responders safer, and cost taxpayers millions of dollars less than what your consultant has presented to you for an extremely unrealistic, high-priced system. I'm confident each of you will be pleased with what you see from Tate in their engineering report and proposal. Next, I'd like to give testimony about the condition of our current radio system. It needs to be fixed. It can be fixed. Any new replacement radio system is likely to take at least 2 years considering the process that has to be undertaken. We cannot afford our public safety being put at risk daily due to the current faulty conditions of our radio system. We cannot afford to have our children's safety at risk when an emergency unfolds in any of the schools throughout Columbia County that lack public safety radio system coverage on the outside of the school or inside the school building. I'd like to cite a few parts of a letter dated August 30th, 2016, written by Mark Collins. Until his recent passing, Mark was a communications consultant and communications systems engineer that this district hired back in 2014. This is his letter. You guys probably recall it. It's dated August 30th, 2016. And again, I'm just going to read parts of it because I only have 10 minutes here. It says, attaches a Spectrum research report. It contains a thorough narrative of the extent of activities needed for this project. Over the last year, that's the work that we're doing over the last year, he had determined that to improve the radio system coverage, we must move sites, add new sites, and replace antenna system used at the current sites. Some of the frequency work the letter talks about the district needing to complete was completed, but the relocating of radio sites and additional radio sites that was outlined was never completed, despite this board authorizing spending over $350,000 on making one of the needed sites partially ready 6 years ago. That site was never completed. This work was imperative to have done back in 2016, and here we are over 7 years later, and the antenna work, for example, Mr. Collins cited as critically important, has still not been completed. That equipment now is around 21 years old. We are asking you to hire a qualified engineer to lead this repair work of the current system. You have over $2 million in reserve fund for this exact type of thing. Your family's safety depends on it, their family's safety depend on it, and all of our first responder safety depend on it. This is not a complicated issue. This is not a political issue. This is a common sense, critical public safety matter. At the last 911 boarding, I gave public comment just as I am now, and I offered to provide the bulk of necessary equipment to fix the coverage issues in and around 3 Scappoose schools. Next, I want to talk to you about the idea of joining another county's public safety radio system. There is a very obvious push by this agency's executive director to join Washington County's radio system. Let me tell you about a recent incident that very clearly illustrates that we should not have joined WACA's computer-aided dispatch system and why we should definitely not join the radio system that they would retain unilateral control over, just like the CAD system. A while back, a call came into a 911 center for a trauma incident off Rocky Point Road in Scappoose near Highway 30. This area is Scappoose Fire District's response area. Because we use Washington County, or WACA's CAD system, and because from what I'm told, WACA refuses to make the needed changes to the system, EMS and rescue units from Washington County were incorrectly dispatched to this trauma incident. I'm told by our first responders the injured patient waited for over an hour for medical attention for emergency services. This would not have happened if we were on our own CAD system like we were before for 17 years. Imagine if the incident was a cardiac arrest or a major car crash. The person or people would have been dead. We should not be sharing critical systems with other counties who have their own community's public safety as their priority, as they rightfully should. We cannot have competing interests when it comes to critical public safety systems impacting whether or not someone receives timely, professional emergency services. Our community's public safety must be this board's priority. If we share critical technical systems that involve competing public safety interests, that inherently cannot happen, as illustrated by the Rocky Point incident. This agency needs to implement its own CAD system before someone dies. This board needs to take that as an urgent priority and select a CAD system that serves the needs of the first responders. Over and over again, I hear how terrible our current CAD system is and how the CAD vendor failed to follow through on multiple promises that they made to responders in this county. Next, I'd like to address this board about the time of monthly board meetings. This is a topic that is on your agenda, so I'm bringing it up now. It's perfect timing. This agency is getting more public attention. It has made clear by multiple members, it has been made clear by multiple community members that they would like to attend your board meetings, but they can't because the board meetings happen on weekdays during work hours. And as you know, it is critically important that public meetings be made accessible to the community. That is why there's a requirement that these meetings be made public. Having the meetings at a time that does not allow the majority of citizens to attend is not in line with the spirit of the public meetings laws. I have been asked by multiple citizens to request this board move their meetings to 6:30 or 7 on weekday evenings to allow our citizens to actually participate in these board meetings and know what's going on with their 911 service. I think it's important to mention that we as elected officials are only in the position we are because of the voters. Our constituents, they put us here in these positions. I think it's safe to say that voters filled in the bubble next to our names on the ballot because they thought or think we are qualified. They thought in this case that we would do the very best thing for their safety, for the safety of our first responders and certainly the safety of their children. Please let that be your guiding light when you serve on this board. 911 services are perhaps the most important services within this entire county to just under 53,000 people. 53,000 people are counting on you for their safety related to 911 services. As I wrap my public comment, I'd like to pass out some maps that show the coverage for our current radio system and the condition it is in and around our schools. The maps I'll pass out are from your consultant about 12 months ago. In the radio system coverage meetings, first responders verified the computer-generated maps were accurate to what they say they experienced while on duty. The brighter green is the actual radio coverage. Don't get that confused with the other green because it shows the vegetation on the maps as well. Thank you. My phone is always on and each of you have my number. I'm committed to staying engaged on these topics and keeping the public informed until each of these issues have been corrected. Let's work together collaboratively and remember we are here to serve the public's best interests. We can best do that by all working together professionally and collaboratively. And I'll pass out these maps really quick.